It still feels like summer here in Silicon Valley, but there are some snowflakes around. And especially, I'm really, really happy to have Sreedhar Rao here, who is the global CTO for Snowflake. Warm welcome. So you've been here now, we've been part of a panel where we've been talking about our apps and how we can manage networks and so on in different ways. What were the key points that you were trying to get across in your session?
The most important thing that we see in this ecosystem play is the value of data. Today, what happens is the RAN is generating tons of data, and then that data is currently locked up within the RAN ecosystem, right? So when we have the SMO, we are able to actually bring the Snowflake data platform to provide that value, to actually provide that data set, and then expose that to different RAP applications in a way that the RAP can actually consume that data readily. So being able to democratize that data in a secure environment. So because we are able to actually use that in an operator's environment, that data is available not only just to the RAPs, but also the business applications. And then at the same time, in a lot of environments, we have customers' business data on Snowflake platform. So for example, their billing information or customer information, device information. So those applications can now also get access to the RAN data set, and then we can also add the BSS information with that RAN data set, and then publish that back so that the RAP can now consume. So think about an RAP application who's basically saying, okay, what are all the cell sites where I have a customer of a certain type and has a certain device type, and what is the performance of those RAN infrastructure? And then can I do something different so that I can continue to improve the quality of experience for those customers, right? And so now you're able to actually provide a granular view of data that takes the RAN data and the business-centric data, and then make the RAP application ecosystem that much richer because it has visibility into more than RAN data.
So for someone, if you'd explain that to someone that don't understand this area so well, it sounds to me very much you have a challenge of like you picking up like an ocean of data. Is it about finding the right data, or is it more about how you're presenting it? And
it's both. It's finding the right data and then making it relevant from a business impact perspective, right? So for example, if I have an application in a RAN environment, if I have an RAP that is actually looking at a certain kind of KPIs in the RAN, right? But that RAN KPI is dependent on the devices and the spectrum those devices are using in a particular location, right? So now I'm able to actually say that, okay, here's my RAN data set, here's my device information, these are the frequencies or these are the capabilities of that device. When I combine that with the RAN's capabilities, now I understand, okay, these devices, this is the KPI that I can expect on that device because this is how the RAN was configured. So this capability to identify the customer impacts with the RAN data sets and then being able to configure that RAN again. So for example, now I know that this device has a certain characteristic. What if I'm able to actually adjust the RAN configurations to match that device capabilities? Now I have improved the customer experience in that because they have much better signal strength, they have much better call qualities. Right? So that is the kind of optimization that we are talking about. If you just look at the RAN data, you won't get that picture. So you still have to get the device data, and that doesn't exist in the RAN environment. That exists in the BSS environment. That exists in other places where a telco has that data set. So we are able to combine that and then provide that combined view back to the RAN.
it sounds like getting really, really sharp glasses when you have bad eyesight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I try to do. So if you look at sustainability and climate change, the only reason why we are able to talk about climate change today is because somebody took the entire Earth, zoomed out, and then looked at the entire ecosystem at a very high level, right? And then once they understood the connections between all the piece parts of the climate, then they zoomed in and said, okay, this is the local solution because I know this is how they are connected. And that's exactly what we are doing with our data platform. We are helping customers zoom out, connect the dots, and then zoom back in to make an optimal choice.
Now, that sounds pretty fascinating. When you have those kind of capabilities and the tools in the toolbox, are there any particular innovation that you think we should have our eyes sighted?
Absolutely. So AI ML, of course, nowadays everything is about AI ML. That said, how can we bring ML capabilities? How can we bring AI capabilities into making better decisions within the RAN ecosystem? 70% of the customer spend in CapEx is usually in that RAN piece. And it's only going to get more in terms of percentage value, primarily because the RANs are going to be much more smaller as the frequency bands change with 6G. There's going to be more RAN data sets, and there's going to be more RAN nodes as well. And so what we are looking at is being able to bring an AI ML capability, being able to bring LLMs into that equation. So think about this from a RAN operations perspective. By bringing an LLM, by bringing capabilities to use natural language, now we are providing the operators with the ability to do simple language questions against that data set. So they can do several different queries without having to know details of the data behind it, because we are able to abstract that data and then provide a natural language. That is an innovation that is happening in other parts of the operations. Now we are bringing that capability into the RAN ecosystem.
I think that's a really good. We can spend quite some time in talking about this subject, but I think it's important that you bring with you here that we see a lot of innovation in the ecosystem, and it's not only for isolated pieces. As we have talked about in this conversation, it's very much bringing together like the pictures that we have of customers in one end of the house with what's going on in the networks, bringing the two of them together and deliver better experiences. Isn't that something to really look forward to?